Ibrahim Traore, because Ibrahim Traore would see through his little con game and lock his ass the fuck up because he ain't about what's right. I tried to get a brother the chance. I'm done with him. He didn't went too far. He started calling the indigenous people of the land his African brothers. Africa wasn't even named Africa when the motherfuckers came over here. How the fuck did we get to be Africans? I would have rather you call me an Ethiopian. Ether Utopia. The prime ether. The prima matter. The seed of the great mother. But no, you want to call us African. The divided land. Ifraki. That was done in the Berlin Conference. But we ain't supposed to know that because your scholars told you was traded as cattle and chattel across the seas that don't even make sense. All you got to do is get the video from some of these naval vessels that be crossing the Atlantic and tell me how your shanty ship gonna handle that shit made out of some goddamn pine tar and goddamn sticks. They have 5,000-year-old boat from China, a 7,000-year-old ship, still fully intact in Egypt, in a pyramid, by the way. These motherfuckers been took out and put on display for the world to see, the oldest ships, but they don't have one intact slave ship where they can show you where this gas chamber was that these niggas vomiting and shitting and pissing in the hull of the ship, turning it into a gas chamber with methane gas. And don't even mention the sisters on their menses, because it's a 90-day trip, so they're going to have at least 2-3 periods if they make it that long. That don't make no damn sense. It defies logic, and it defies common sense. Right? So, we are in a position now where they finna give it all back. They finna give it all back. We gonna discuss more of this topic tomorrow on the Young Elder Show. But remember, all of this shit was supposed to be temporary. The United States Corporation contract, written in the blood of Crispus Attucks as a constitution, was a 250-year contract. As defined, it was a 200-year contract. They got the extension because we broke the contract in 1812 and took them motherfuckers back to bloody warfare. And we were supposed to be educating ourselves above the conditions, right? But 1812, we had enough of their games and they murdering other leaders, cheating in the game that they said they was playing by the rules, but they never followed the rules. They broke every goddamn rule and they still breaking the rules. And the only time the rules apply is when they got one of our black asses in their grips. Then the rules apply. But when they doing it, when they trafficking over 800,000 children out of America every year, it don't apply to them niggas. When they sitting here having freak off parties and conning entertainers into giving up their chastity and their manhood and their womanhood for a contract in order to have a better life, that's a violation of the rules. They use fraud because they know fraud vitiates our contract, but if nobody never identified a fraud, you can't never change the condition. You can't never expose what they doing to cripple us because you don't know the sorcery part. Because anybody that decide to go into the dark arts to see if it's being worked on you, you got to study that shit or you not gonna know. But they told you that's the devil's information and you ain't supposed to touch it. The devil mean enemy. So if they tell you it's the devil's information, that's your enemy's information. And you need to know what your enemy teach in order to know how to defend yourself from his dogmatic doctrines, his usurping nature, his undermining totalitarian mentality, his Iceman inheritance, his psychopathic racial personality, and they ain't even paleface. Them niggas hate theyself for being this color more than we hate the motherfuckers that we thought was the problem and we was being lied to the whole time. I couldn't understand why them old pale faces used to tell me, why you mad at us? It was your own people that did it to you. What the fuck is y'all talking about? Now I know. They look like us, they not us. All of the other people that participate in this racial caste system, they doing it because they don't want to get mixed up in the dirty Moors and the righteous Moors fighting it out in the hood. So they want to get far away from it and ostracize us as much as possible to minimize their inclusion in the goddamn conflict. But they don't know is they chose the wrong side. They chose the side of the colonizer to be their hero. That's where the problem came in. We had contracts that's ancient with Chinese, Japanese, with Mongolians, with Huns. We got ancient that we still use Lee in the middle name. The old Mississippians do because we honoring the contract that showed us that we had blood ties to the tribes that came and asked permission the right way. The ones that came across the Bering Straits. They came and asked for permission to settle the land, and Big Mama said, come on, baby, you know we feed everybody. But when these rotten motherfuckers sailed over here, what did Columbus write in his diary? How loving we are, how kind we are, how we have no need for anything because anything we have, we'll give it to somebody that need it. Oh yeah, these niggas gonna be easy to conquer. The jig is up. Y'all lost, nigga. Spain submitted. They tapped out. 428. They tapped out. They lost. They got crushed. They got put in their place. They done. They blackout. That's the signal. When they lost, they got the blackout. It's the same as getting the knockout in the boxing ring. When the motherfucking eyes close, you don't see no goddamn lights over your head. You too busy in laid back with your foot rising up off the mat. Unless you jump up and do some jab judo and say, did you play with matches? I know people commenting, but the only thing that's coming up, believe it or not, is who's coming on the video. I'm not saying damn comment that y'all commenting. And it ain't no way, long as I've been doing this, that 213 people is in here and there's no comments. That's crazy. So I don't know, they might have the comments turned off. Let me look and see. How would I know? They want me to take a poll. I don't know, but I'm not getting no comments. But anyway, shout out to Lazarus Lamel with the Messiah Code. Yeah, here goes some history that y'all know. The first person that opened the door for me was Crumb. The first person to interview me was Lazarus Lamel from the Messiah Code. Look, when I tell y'all that gematria and numerology need each other, go check out the Messiah Code, Lazarus Lamel. He that's my guy. He the real deal. He know how to read, and he one of them come out that school of right knowledge. Right? So, just so y'all know. Because it's a lot of people instrumental in us becoming aware of what's going on in the takeover. Y'all watching the takeover. It just not happening as fast as y'all want it to because it ain't bloody warfare. It ain't shocking all bombs being dropped. It's systematic. Shut this part down. Shut that part down. We don't need that bullshit. Stop them from giving our money to them niggas and them niggas and them niggas. They don't need our money. Tell them to get their own money. Look, they've been siphoning money out of our Big Mama's bank by not letting us access it. using it on our behalf to do business and keep other countries across Europe and around the world afloat. Look at the map of U.S. military bases around the world. They got bases in places they shouldn't even be. Let that sink in. The United States got military bases in places they shouldn't even be. I said they because I'm not part of that shit that they doing. I don't agree with that shit that they doing. I don't support the assassination of heads of state because they won't play by the rules that you made when you came over and ran that same shit on these chiefs. It's a new sheriff in town. I'm not falling for the okie doke. All I know is notice the agent is notice the principal. Tribal responsibility is to put it in the public domain. The public domain is recognized in law as a timestamp archivable format. All social media platforms are admissible as public domain information because the reach extends beyond 1,000 people. So notice the agent being notice the principal. That means notice the principal is also notice the agent. All these motherfuckers is on notice. They all on borrowed time. We watching this shit fold in front of their face, not like they did us, behind our back in front of our face. They did everything in secret to control us in the public. We doing everything in the public to destroy their secrets. Let that sink in. They do everything in the secret to control us in the public. We doing everything in the public to expose their secrets. Ain't no more secret squirrel shit. Adam Ant is on the job, and ain't no more secret squirrel shit. You can call him underdog if you want to, but hate it or love it, the underdog on top. And we gonna shine, baby, until this U.S. corporation drop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps PBG, Platinum Back Gorilla in this motherfucker. I'm telling y'all, look, the worst thing you can do is be an independent thinker. A person that understands how to follow the spiritual path you came here to follow. A lot of people don't know how to follow the path because they become indoctrinated with the three-dimensional artificial constructs. And they are all created to keep you from ever coming to the realization of who you are and what you're capable of doing. I just wanted to see if I could put a comment in there because I ain't seen a comment yet. So, if anybody got any questions, how long I've been on here? 45 minutes. So, anybody got any questions, send me a request, and I'm going to start pulling people up. I'm going to take about 15 minutes of, I know it's going to go longer than 15 minutes. Okay, so we coming up on 50 minutes. So I'm gonna do about 30 minutes of Q&A if y'all can even come in. Let's see, Christina, where my baby at? Christina, where is Mary? I don't know if it's gonna add you in. I don't know if it's gonna let me add anybody or not. I could be shadow banned, but I know I wanted to see Christina anyway. So see how Mary and the boys and the rest of them doing. They letting you in, Christina? Don't look like it. Don't say adding. Say adding. They might let her in. This Christina Vargas, the Gold Eye Oracle. Y'all don't even know about that. go our oracle see shit before it happened. They can see down the timeline and they get glimpses. I seen her eyes turn gold, and I was like, "You one of them." Yeah, I don't know. It's sad, and it ain't letting her in though. Okay, it says she didn't answer, but I know that ain't what happened. I'm gonna see. Hey, Lazarus, Lemel, you wanna come up? Where you go? It's not. Oh, this is crazy. The teacher him and we try to invite you on camera just to see if they're gonna let you up. Anyway, so I'm gonna make a post about jurisdiction, and I already copied everything that I wanted to share in jurisdiction, but it's on this phone. But I'm gonna share it. It's gonna be on my Instagram and on my Facebook. If you want to understand a little bit about jurisdiction, because it's way more exhaustive than that, that's just uh, the foundation for the research. Yeah, so it didn't let her up either. So they're not letting me put nobody on camera. So I might go out, come back in, and try to see if they let me invite people. But I've been shadow banned so long on Instagram. I can't do lives over there on Instagram, and so I got to do them over here. And they don't show up on Instagram when I do them over here. But my Instagram lives used to have the option to come over here, but my Facebook live don't have the option to share to Instagram, right? So I ain't gonna hold y'all, but remember, the tribes have territorial jurisdiction grandfathered in before 1492. And the grandfather clause allows us to activate the grandmother clause. The grandmother clause, according to the tribes, is the right for the tribal mothers to allocate who belong where on the land. By trial and error, they send them to different places. Now, because the corporation just forced people together, you have all of this divide and conquer stuff going on. You have the racism, the sexism, the gender confusion, the cross dressing. All of it is literally being done on purpose as tools of divide and conquer. When you take an infant baby that's being born, you can teach that baby to be anything. You could teach that baby to be anything, and they can be good at it because they've been taught from birth. Or if you teach a boy child from birth that he a girl, he's gonna behave feminine. And some of them, when they hit puberty, their testosterone, if they ain't been molested, gonna make them say, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't like no dudes like that." But some of them, especially the real lover boy babies, them the ones that is easiest to trick into thinking that they are in the wrong body and all that bullshit. But you shouldn't be talking to children about sexual identity until they start asking the questions. Unless you see them doing something that leads you to believe somebody touching on them, none of this gender sex shit should even come up before they start getting close to a teen, 8, 9, 10 years old. Because before that, all the boy want to do is go climb a tree. How my father say, piss up a tree, sit down a stump. That's it. He want to be a boy. He want to run, and run all that energy off until he learn how to control it. But no, they rather dope him up. Tell you they got ADHD. They can't control themselves. They out of control. They fucking boys. They supposed to be out of control, but they not supposed to be trapped in your Skinner box. They not supposed to have to wait for your Pavlovian response bell to go off to tell them what move to make next. But you put them in these environments that's antithesis to their nature, and then you wonder why they not acting like their nature. They are being you raising a lion with dogs. You raising eagles with chickens. And when the eagles start doing eagle shit, then you shoot that motherfucker down so he don't remind the other eagles they're eagles. That's called COINTELPRO. That's called Rex 84, Readiness Exercise 1984, aka the Lord Alfred Plan. Right? All that shit there. But if you don't know what they doing, they just gonna keep playing in your face. So I've been telling y'all for 5 years, every step of the way, what they've been doing. Now they come out and tell y'all about the fraud in the poison in the Jabberwocky. I took control over us than they ever had. In the 50s and the 60s, they didn't have this kind of stronghold on our psyche. They had the don't go across the tracks stronghold, but they ain't had I'm an African stronghold and I'm gonna do what Master say. They didn't have that stronghold. Niggas stopped being rebellious after the civil rights nonviolent protests. They should have kept that shit Malcolm X, but we had to educate ourselves about the condition. That's why Elijah didn't allow the FOI to take these motherfuckers to bloody warfare. But we don't know this though. Collectively, we don't know this, but it's instrumental to know because then you understand your ancestors never laid down and kissed nobody ass. Well, most of y'all ancestors didn't. Some of y'all ancestors were showing up some bootlicking ass kickers, some Jayhawks. I just try to tell it the way it is. All our ancestors wasn't the top of the food chain, and the ones that cooperated, I don't even know what to say about them. Shit. So catch me tomorrow on the Young Elder channel, and y'all gotta understand, we've been here so long, we built here. It wasn't no here till we built it. We was Atlantis. The Great Atlant is what it was really called. Atlantis is the Greek rendition of the Great Atlant. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth tell you that he left from over here and went over there in a ship that flew, not floated. So ain't none of this stuff new. Vimana Sutras show you that there was flying crafts all the time on Earth. That ain't new. They just got rid of the blimps in order to make room for modern aeronautics. Modern aeronautics is based off ancient principles of aviation. That's how they knew how to do it. They told us they discovered King Tut's over there in Egypt. There's only one problem with that. He was buried in the Grand Canyon. He's buried in the Grand Canyon. He wasn't buried in what you call Kemet, Egypt over there, he wasn't buried over there. He wasn't in the Valley of the Kings. He was buried in Arizona. And you don't believe me when Tupac come back asking where they buried you at last time. I was buried in Arizona. Go back to the interview. T. Rogers is telling you that he told him he was going out on his own land. He wasn't going out on no foreign land. Everything west of the Rocky Mountains, Tupac Amaru, everything between the Appalachians and the Rocky Mountains. Chiefs called me to settle that shit. Louisiana Purchase shit. Louisiana Purchase was the first. It had nothing to do with the right to colonize. The agreement, the Louisiana Purchase, was a protectorate agreement. That means that if we don't put together our own Mississippian military back together, they were supposed to protect us from the from the Spanish and the English. What they do? They literally sold us to the English, literally, under the pretense of selling the Port of New Orleans and the protectorate rights of the Louisiana Territory that spanned from the Gulf of America all the way into what they call Canada today. This is why Trump talking about recovering Canada. We don't know history because they taught us a semblance of history, right? So we didn't know that the Louisiana Purchase also included Canada. What languages do they speak in Canada? They only speak two, English and French. Other than the tribes, you got tribes up there, Inuits in Alaska. You got Inuit tribal mixes throughout the Canadian territories that speak their tribal tongue. But Western tongues, they only got two main Western tongues. Well, they got a lot of Spanish people starting to import there. So now you got three primary major tongues. This is the Louisiana Territory. Canada was part of the Louisiana Purchase, the Protectorate of Canada. Canada don't got no army. If somebody come and fuck the Canadians up right now, the only thing gonna stop them is the lower 50 gonna roll out on their ass, and they already know it. They don't need no army. All they got is some goddamn mounted police riding around with some batons like they in England. Now they started to arm them in the last 50 years or so, but they used to didn't even have the right to, they couldn't carry guns. Only the hostile territory. Hostile territories is the continental states, or the 48 states. In Alaska, in Hawaii, they annexed Hawaii. They didn't even ask them people. That's fraud. You can't impose your jurisdiction and take away somebody else's tribal jurisdictional rights. And don't expect for us to figure out what you did. Once we figure it out, it's about putting it in the public domain, coming up with a comprehensive description for enough members of enough tribes to know one of these chiefs got it right, and this is what we need to be paying attention to. These is the receipts, right? I can tell the story, or I can teach the class. When the chief with the chief, I'm just telling the story. But I do got the receipts. I can show you everything I'm talking about. And most of us are blind to the fact that we are occupied territory of a foreign body politic masquerading as our corporate government. The corporation is a subsidiary of the Crown of England, not the tribes. You got to understand how jurisdiction works, territorial rights. We have territorial rights, right? We got a right to change any kind of governing system on the land that's no longer compatible with the nature of the tribes. We can change that shit. We don't got to ask permission. We just got to come to a consensus among ourselves that enough is a goddamn enough. But it's too many of us with our nose in the air, and we too entitled to do some stuff called strategic thinking, right? Understanding the military invasion that was imposed upon us and how we end up subjugated by the invader and what we must do in order to overcome the invasion. If we don't put this stuff together, then we're gonna be left out in the dark because it take all of us, it take all the tribes to be aware. And then every tribe gotta organize within their own tribe. What do we do with this information now that we got it? Now that we know that everything in DC has been a 100% fraud, what do we do? Each tribe's responsibility is to discuss among themselves what they do, pick their champion, and all of the champions of all of the tribes gonna stand in solidarity, and we gonna have a tribal convention to resume matriarchal order and the great law. That's it. We don't gotta do nothing else. First, we gotta come to the agreement among ourselves that the information is available. The babies got it now. They go put this shit together because Rod Hayes telling them how all of it go. And when they put it together, when we get our old ass out their way, because we done had our day in the sun, it's their turn now. It's their turn to organize and raise hell. It's not our turn now. We missed our turn. We was too busy hanging out on street corners wearing fat gold ropes, bumping booming systems.